Hey guys, it's Kingdom Orange 2 here, and welcome back to my channel. We all know and love the Disney princesses, but what about the girls who weren't lucky enough to make the cut? Well, after going through a huge pool of potential candidates, I have narrowed the list down to 13 girls, and today I'm going to explain as to why I think they would be good contenders, and also why Disney may have decided not to include them. So with all that being said, let's get this list started. Number 13 is Tiger Lily. Now, I don't feel like it's 100% fair to place Tiger Lily at the bottom of this list, but she doesn't speak in the entirety of her movie, and it's kind of hard to describe someone's personality when you've never heard them talk. While Tiger Lily has no lines, she is still a very popular Disney character, and throughout the movie, she does stand her guard and protect Peter Pan from being captured by Captain Hook. Tiger Lily is technically a princess, but due to the fact she's based on negative Native American stereotypes during the early 1900s, I can see why Disney would hesitate to add her to the lineup. Number 12 is Tinkerbell. So honestly, rewatching the movie Peter Pan, I don't know why she was ever such a popular character. She doesn't speak in her movie, and her personality isn't really that great either. Tinkerbell also doesn't do anything like super noble or become a better person. Tinkerbell, however, appears everywhere throughout Disney, such as a meetable character in the park, on Disney DVDs logos, as well as tons and tons of merchandise. In the early 2000s, she was actually considered to be an official Disney princess until the release of her 2009 movie Tinkerbell, where she was spun off to be the leader of a new Disney franchise line called Disney Fairies. But after all of the movies were finished and Pixie Hollow in Disneyland was shut down, it seems to be that the Disney Fairies franchise is over, and in 2020, a Shop Disney doll was created for her. So while I'm not sure if that means she's part of the group again, I guess only time will tell. And while her personality in her movies makes her an easily lovable character, if we base it on the way she acts in Peter Pan, I have to rank her low. Number 11 is Vanellope von Schweetz. I'm not really sure how to feel about Vanellope. At times, she's rather immature and kind of annoying. Now, you could argue that she is only 12 years old, this is normal, but there are people on this list who are younger and around her same age who don't act like this. But besides that, there are times in which Vanellope is pretty funny and endearing, and she is a good friend to Ralph, even though I don't completely understand the dynamics of their relationship. If you have seen the end of Wreck-It Ralph, you know that Vanellope is actually the princess of the game Sugar Rush. And in the sequel, Ralph breaks the internet. Vanellope glitches into the dressing room of the Disney princesses. She explains to them that she is a princess too, and inspired by her outfit, Cinderella gets her mice to create all new loungewear for them. The appearance of the Disney princesses in this film had a major impact on Disney princess merchandise. In 2018, Hasbro actually launched a line of Disney princess dolls called Comfy Squad, which featured their lounge outfits from the movie. Becoming a huge success, Hasbro continued to sell Disney princess dolls sporting more modern outfits. As well as Hasbro, ShopDisney.com also continues to sell a figurine set which contains all of the Disney princesses as well as a little figurine of Vanellope. Now, even though Vanellope has interacted with the Disney princesses and her appearance had an impact on the sales of merchandise, she is not included in the line. Simply put, I think the only reason she's not included in the lineup is because of her age. Number 10 is Sofia the First. So I haven't watched the entirety of Sofia the First. I have seen the episodes where she interacts with the Disney princesses, as well as the entirety of the special Elena and the Secret of Avalor. Now, I know the show is on Disney Junior, and it isn't marketed towards people my age, but I do nonetheless find it to be super boring, and for some reason, Sofia's voice tends to irritate me at times. I know she's only supposed to sound like 8 years old, but what the heck is up with her voice? However, I have to give her credit where credit is due, and for a girl who is as young as she is, she does a whole lot. Like, she's constantly in peril and having to save people, and I don't think I could do all of that in, like, the second grade. While on the show, she is shown engaging with many different Disney princesses. The reason she's not part of the lineup is because she's from a TV show and not a movie. There's also the fact that, like many other girls on this list, she is a lot younger than the Disney princesses are. There was a time where she was actually a meetable character at the Disney parks. Here is a picture of me with her at Hollywood Studios. Hey, everybody. But since her show has ended, she has been replaced with Fancy Nancy, and I think her potential of being included in the princess lineup in the future is, like, slim to none. Number 9 is Wendy Darling. Wendy is a really imaginative girl who, while not wanting to grow up and still wanting to believe in fairy tales, does still have a very mature side to her, as when she decides to become the mother to the Lost Boys. I do also like the fact that even though she grows up and has kids of her own in the future, she never stops believing in and sharing the story of Peter Pan. Now, the only reason that Wendy isn't included in the lineup is because of her age. Shop Disney did also make a basic doll of her in the year 2020 as well. So again, while I don't know if this means she'll be included in the lineup in the future, I guess only time will tell. Number 8 is Alice. Alice is actually very similar to Wendy Darling. For starters, they're both British girls who are around the same age, have the same face shape, are very curious and whimsical, and were actually voiced by the same actress, Catherine Beaumont. Personality-wise though, I do find Alice to be more interesting. I like how Alice isn't necessarily rebellious, but she does go against the status quo of a young lady, yearning for more adventure and excitement than simply studying lessons from a book. In the early 2000s, Alice was actually somewhat included in the lineup. She did appear in various Disney Princess magazines, but was eventually pulled. Now, she was also made into a doll by Shop Disney in 2020 as well. But I will argue with Alice, her movie is so popular on its own that kind of like Anna and Elsa, she simply can have her own franchise. Number 7 is Eilonwy. Okay, so for those who don't know who she is, Princess Eilonwy is from a movie called The Black Cauldron, which tells the story of Taran, a pig farmer, who goes on a quest to stop the mythical Horn King from taking over the world. While the movie is really obscure, I found the story to be very entertaining. I really like Eilonwy. I think she's fun and sassy, and she's kind of more interesting than Alice and Wendy are. I believe there are 2 main reasons as to why Princess Eilonwy isn't an official Disney princess. The first is that she's a little bit younger than the rest of the group are. The second is that her movie was super unpopular. It did so badly at the box office in 1985 that it put the future of Disney's animation department into jeopardy. Number 6 is Jane Porter. Jane is funny and so eccentric. I like that she is not the norm for a Victorian lady at the time, and instead of living in England, she wants to go to the jungles of Africa and study gorillas. I did find it weird though that at the end of the movie, she decided to stay in Africa because it kind of made the purpose of her research completely pointless, but I feel like it was the right place for her to finally feel free and let her hair down. Now, Jane was actually announced to be an official Disney princess in a magazine in November of 1999, but then she was never mentioned again. I feel, again, like there are 2 reasons as to why she is not part of the franchise. The first is that she kind of looks similar to Belle, especially when she wears her Victorian dress. Now, that isn't super fair because some other princesses have very similar physical attributes, and while they could distinguish Jane by putting her in her jungle dress or any one of the other outfits she wears in the movie, I guess they decided against it. Another argument I want to make is that the movie is not as popular as the other Disney princess films are. The movie did pretty well at the box office, but I don't see any Tarzan merchandise really being sold at the parks or at shopdisney.com. Number 5 is Elena of Avalor. So I have watched Elena of Avalor for years, and what I've noticed about Elena is that she really doesn't have any character flaws. She seems to know exactly what to say and always has a plan in mind. I did find that to be somewhat annoying at times. However, her main storyline is that she has to prove to not only herself, but to her grandparents that she has what it takes to inherit the throne. Now, on paper, Elena is the perfect candidate to be a Disney princess. She's tall, she's around the right age, she sings, she has a love interest, and she brings much needed diversity to the lineup because she is the only Hispanic one in the bunch. The only thing she has against her is that, like Sofia the First, she is from a TV show and not a movie. When the show first came out in 2016, shopdisney.com released a ton of merchandise for her, ranging from dolls, to dresses, to wands, and DVDs. And Elena was also introduced as a meetable character. I know in Disney World she was placed at the Royal Fairy Tale Hall alongside Cinderella, which means that she is met like every single day. Elena of Avalor did end in August of 2020, with Elena finally being crowned queen. While her merchandise isn't really being sold anymore, Elena still makes appearances alongside the other Disney princesses at Magic Kingdom. Now, you think with the show ending, just like Sofia was replaced by Fancy Nancy, Elena would be replaced by another Disney princess, but that doesn't seem to be the case. There are many different explanations that I have tried to come up with, but I think at the end of the day, they will probably just decide to get rid of her whenever they feel like it. Number 4 is Esmeralda. Esmeralda is feisty and outspoken. Usually when it comes to the Disney princesses, I feel like being outspoken is their downfall because it tends to get them into trouble for stupid reasons, or they are outspoken and complain about silly things. However, Esmeralda has a noble cause, not only standing up for the sake of her persecuted and mistreated Roma people, but also for others who are deemed outcasts, such as Quasimodo. I also think that Esmeralda would bring representation to the Disney princess group, especially for people of Indian descent. She can also sing and does have a love interest, which isn't a deciding factor, but does help her case. Now, Esmeralda did appear with the other Disney princesses in merchandise in the late 1990s, early 2000s, but she was discontinued from the line. I feel like this is due to the fact that The Hunchback of Notre Dame didn't do super well at the box office, and it's really not just a family-friendly film in general. I honestly don't even know why Disney decided to make a movie on such heavy subject matter, but they did. Multiple dolls have been made of her through shopdisney.com, and while this doesn't necessarily mean that she is an official Disney princess again, I wonder if she, as well as the other characters, are being tested on their sales to see if they should be added to the lineup again. Number 3 is Kida. Kida is the ultimate warrior princess. She would seriously give Raya and Mulan a run for their money. Now, not only is she hardcore, but her backstory is super interesting. Kida is a princess from the city of Atlantis, a great civilization buried under the water thousands of years ago after a great flood threatened to wipe out the city. And since the citizens of Atlantis are somewhat immortal, that means that Kida is around 8,500 years old, which would make her way older than the rest of the Disney princesses. So she does have the physical appearance of someone who is in her early 20s. And what's interesting about Kida's look is that she isn't based on a particular race or ethnic group. Her facial features seem to be an amalgamation of many different cultures. Unfortunately, Kida is not an official Disney princess because her movie didn't perform well at the box office. It premiered in 2001, which was a weird time for Disney movies as many of them didn't see much success financially. Now, a doll was created of Kida by shopdisney.com to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Atlantis, but honestly, unless a live-action movie sparks interest in the movie once again, I don't see Kida ever being added to the lineup. Number 2 is Megara. What sets Megara apart from other girls on this list is truly her personality. She has a level of sarcasm, wit, and cynicism that I haven't seen in any of the other girls. However, that doesn't mean that she isn't a good person. She does show emotional growth throughout the movie, realizing that her heart isn't too broken to love again, and she shows true strength when she sacrifices her life to save Hercules. Now, some people might argue that she wouldn't make a good Disney princess because Megara is way too sarcastic and would probably mock the idea of being one. However, Merida was added to the lineup in 2011, even though she doesn't sing, doesn't have a love interest, and throughout her film was against the idea of being a royal. And while it could also be argued that the reason she isn't a Disney princess was because of Hercules' performance at the box office, it didn't do that poorly compared to movies from official Disney princesses such as Mulan and Tiana. Megara was also given a doll in 2020 by shopdisney.com along with many other characters on this list. Now, I think they are probably just testing her along with the rest of the characters, but I wonder if maybe a live-action release of Hercules would spark interest in her movie again. And besides, Hades is a super popular villain, so it's not like people wouldn't recognize the film. At number 1 is Giselle. Giselle is number 1 to me for a whole lot of reasons. At the beginning of the film, Giselle is an idealistic girl who daydreams about meeting her true love and living happily ever after. Now, when she accidentally lands in New York City, she discovers that life isn't always perfect and begins to feel more complex emotions such as annoyance and anger. What I really love about Giselle is that even though she is based off earlier Disney princesses such as Snow White and Cinderella, she has more of a complex personality than they do. She isn't exactly a damsel in distress and shows great courage when she climbs up the skyscraper in the rain to try and stop Queen Nerissa from killing Robert. And over the course of her film, Giselle does mature, but I like that she keeps her optimistic and kind personality. Now, in 2007, when Enchanted was released, Giselle was fully intended to be part of the lineup. In the Disney park, she was introduced as a face character in parades, and the Disney store also released a ton of merchandise to promote her film. However, Disney decided to drop her from the lineup due to the fact that they would have to pay lifetime royalties to Amy Adams for using her likeness. And while I don't understand, first, how this doesn't apply to other live-action characters, or second, how they didn't realize this sooner. 12 years after her movie was made, D23 did release an exclusive Giselle and Edward Masquerade doll. Also, with the announcement of a sequel, Disenchanted, Giselle's potential of joining the lineup in the future doesn't seem to be completely written off. While not being part of the official Disney Princess lineup doesn't mean that these characters will be forgotten. The title and position of Disney Princess guarantees lasting presence and significance in merchandise, as well as appearances in the Disney parks. However, with the recent trend of Shop Disney selling merchandise based on less popular movies, not only in their doll selection, but also in other areas such as plush, it gives me hope that even without a title, these girls will be just fine. If you liked this video today and want to see more content in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you soon. Bye!